IVM.
IVM Likes is an IVM production, and if you enjoy the show, check out our personal finance podcast, Paisa Vaisa. If you're like me and have no idea what mutual funds or SIPs are or how to save money like a responsible adult, you need all the advice you can get from Anupam Gupta on Paisa Vaisa. New episodes are out every Monday and Thursday. Welcome to another episode of IVM Likes. I'm Sharanya, and today I'm in the studio with Josh and Navin. Hi guys.
Hey.
So today we're recommending a movie, a book and a TV show, and then we'll get into a little bit of conversation about what's happening with the Harvey Weinstein case and other things that are happening closer to home.
Yep.
I know we've already had one discussion on an episode dedicated to the Bill Cosby case and the others such. But obviously there's not enough conversation, I guess, and we should really talk about it again. Let's start our round of recommendations with, who wants to start?
Josh.
I think Josh will start. Let's go with
fine.
Josh.
So this is going to be my last Malayalam recommendation. Let's just call it. It's not regional. I have not accommodated any other
You've
regions.
tried,
true.
but you haven't been able to penetrate.
Not even really tried. I did half of like a Tamil film called Managaram, but I never finished it. So the film I'm going to recommend is Kerala Varma Parsi Raja.
Nice.
Okay,
Nice.
It's a film with Mammootty. It's like I haven't seen many Mammootty films, so this is kind of like the first film I'm getting to see him. And it's a period film. It's set in the 1700s, where sort of Tipu. It's at the time where Tipu Sultan is fighting the British, and in the middle of the film there's a part where news comes that he's lost the battle. So this is essentially the conflict between the tribals and the British, and the British are sort of a bit of a caricature in this film.
They are, yeah.
But it's so much.
I saw a scene of this because one of those guys we know, like Brandon.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Brandon is in this film, and he's completely dubbed over also. But what's fun about it is also it's like I just watched the Temple of Doom recently, and it's so racist. So I'm like, this is mild compared to some of the shit that they get
Slap
away.
back at them.
Yeah, it's like this is really nothing compared to what these Hollywood guys do. So the film is it's a very long film. It's 3 hours 10 minutes. Okay, longer than Titanic, I think.
How many times did you stop and watch?
2.
Okay.
So
That's
I did
fine.
like 1
Two
hour.
intervals.
1 hour.
Yeah.
So the film, it's got a lot of action. So the film, I would say, the story is okay in parts, and some of the action is a bit not so great because there's some wire work. And this film was made in 2009, I think. So some of the wire work and some of the action looks a bit naff. But it's got a lot of Kalripaita action sequences also.
Nice.
Like there's one bit where I don't know if you've seen any Kalripaita, but there's this kind of floppy sword that they
Yes.
have. So there's a fight sequence with that, which was pretty epic. So some of the fights are really good, and some of the fights also, it's pretty big in that they have a lot of extras, like thousands, like in the thousands,
Yeah.
So there's bits where there's like a siege of one mansion where they're all sort of hiding out. And also what was interesting is there are some action, there's this action sequence with this woman also that was pretty interesting because all she had was a torch, and she just kind of just burns these British guys, She's like going around just...
Like a flaming torch.
Yeah, not a flashlight with the
1700s
batteries.
also. Yeah.
Oh my
But I never understood why Kalaripaittu has like that floppy sword. Like what's the...
Yeah, it is. It's actually something, I don't know what particular, maybe it's easy to make, I guess. I don't know why.
No, I'm pretty sure it's not.
Doubles as a hunter and a sword.
I'm sure
But the
there's
thing
a
is,
usage
it's I mean, there's like you have the floppy sword, then you have there's like the small sort of dagger thing that they have.
Yeah.
And there was one more thing, but one of the swords looked kind of, I didn't know if that was a legit sword or it just looked like it was made of wood. So it was just like some bits here and there which were...
Mammootty got wood.
Yeah. But man, so since it's a period piece, right, all these guys have their hair in one side pony like that. All these women are wearing like tube tops. And it's like that. It was like visually, it was like a really lovely film to watch. And also Mammootty's acting, he's like on the ball. He's just full epic, man. And he's like, a middle-aged guy with a paunch, right?
Yeah.
But I just don't know. It's like, I don't know how they managed to pull off these...
So who does he play?
So he plays Kerala Varma, Parsi Raja. He plays one of the kings essentially.
And what is his role in this Tipu Sultan era?
Okay, so he is basically...
You didn't explain any of this plot at all.
Sorry, I completely forgot.
Go for it.
So the plot is essentially the tribals battle against the British, and Mammootty plays this guy Kerala Varma Parsi Raja, and he's one of the kings. So he organizes this thing. So he's constantly, the British and him, they're signing treaties, there's wheeling and dealing. These British are ruthless, they're killing people, they're hanging some of his guys and all. So the thing is how it's the whole conflict between them, and how he's trying to balance everything out. And also they're constantly getting pushed back, and the British have guns, right? So it's like all these moments where they
So
just...
his first name is Kerala Varma.
His name is Kerala Varma, yeah.
Okay.
Parsi Raja. He's like in history, he's like a big figure, you know.
That's
He's
awesome, yeah.
He's sort of like a Tipu Sultan or
Do you
one
watch
of these.
this movie on your favorite platform?
Of course, Hotstar.
Still shitty UI.
So yeah, that's the film. It's a long film. I mean, I would recommend it because it's just visually, it's quite stunning,
Yeah.
and it's just surprising some of the kind of the film grammar, just like how like in terms of the edit and how they shoot it, because it seems very advanced for its time, you know. But it's only because like the wire work is a bit naff and some of the acting is like over the top. But it's a really really good film, and I would highly recommend. And Mammootty, he's just like superb in it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we have spent way too much time on this movie.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think so. I think
that sounds good though.
Because it's a 3.5 hour movie then.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm giving him the finger.
All right, Naveen.
Cool. Alright, so I watch a lot of comedy, and one of the most amazing stand-up comedians I've seen in my past few years is Stuart Lee. He's this British guy, and he's like been around since the early 80s, early 90s, and he's not really become that famous now because of his unconventional style of comedy. So he does like a lot of staccato. He does a lot of like flipping the joke on its head sort of thing. So he has a book called How I Escaped My Certain Fate, which is I think a must read for every stand-up comedian who's aspiring and otherwise, to understand how some people perceive comedy. For every comedian there's a different style they approach, and so what happens in this book is basically he's narrating his life in chapters, and in the middle you have his entire set. Like he's done 4 specials, so he breaks down each of his specials into the jokes that he's done.
Okay.
So the first half of the book, like the book is like basically 2 parts. The top half is his joke, and the bottom half is him explaining the joke.
Oh, okay.
And the mind of this guy is so profound that one line of the joke that is concentrated into
Yeah.
is like there's an entire thesis behind that, how he actually came to that conclusion, what he's referencing, and how he goes about it. So it's a very beautiful jump into a genius mind, is what I would say. It's not that expensive. It's not that difficult to get your hands on in India as well. So obviously, before you read the book, watch his comedy to understand what I'm talking about. There's an entire bit. I would recommend my favorite bit of his where he starts talking about Scooby-Doo adventures and compares it to Margaret Thatcher.
Oh, wow.
And just the idea that somebody can do that is hilarious itself. So like you should watch it. He has this whole thing about Top Gear. He just goes on 15-minute rant about Jeremy Clarkson and the other guys. So I think there's very few comics who are like him in anywhere in the world. And we should definitely watch and listen to this guy. He's a sane voice in a lot of stupid voices. Like, you know, he also picks on a lot of comics. That's what he does. Like, people who are very terrible comics and are given like a very big platform, he disses on them very openly. He doesn't care. So that's the attitude I like about him, that he's not bothered about the fact that people won't like him in the industry or whatever. He's like, I'm here to do my bit. Like, but he's like a much toned down Andy Kaufman, but with better jokes. That's what I feel.
Fair.
So Stuart Lee, his book is called How I Escaped My Certain Fate.
Wow.
Please read this.
Sounds very nice. Okay, I'm going to recommend a TV show called American Vandal, which I avoided watching for quite some time.
Yeah, same. Like, I thought it was some documentary on vandalism.
Also, I'm a little whatever about Netflix specials, because I feel like now there are so many originals all the time. Every time you open it, here's a new original. So I just wait to like hear good things about it. So American Vandal is a 8-episode parody of Serial, of Making a Murder, of any true crime show or podcast or any investigation. It basically talks about this high school vandalism where where one day suddenly 27 cars in the faculty parking are vandalized with gigantic red penises. And the high school the video team decides to make a documentary because there's only one person accused. There's only one person accused, this guy called Dylan, because he has a history of drawing penises and
playing pranks on people.
And playing pranks. He has a YouTube channel where he just plays pranks like nuns humping trees. Where they're all dressed as nuns and humping trees, or where they fart on babies. It's so stupid. So everybody just assumes it's him, and the school decides to expel him. So this guy called Peter. So he's the guy who decides to make this documentary about Dylan, and they get into like this really serious discussions about ball hairs, or really like what could be the trying to break down everybody's alibi. And there's this one episode where the assumption is that the spray can they got to do that was from this party, like this massive house party, where obviously Peter was not invited because he's a nerd. So they recreate the party, okay, with like how the couches were, where you can hear this, and they put all Snapchat videos together and try to find out who would have been there at this time. It is so serious and so funny.
It's actually well done.
It's really well done.
This case keeps unraveling.
It is extremely well done. And then if you watch any true crime investigation, it's always like that, right? You go into every character and you start to question what their incentive to do this or not do something is. So when the school board expels him, their big witness is this guy called Alex Trimboli, who says that he saw Dylan do it. So when Peter talks to him, they try to prove that Alex is actually a liar because he one time lied about getting a hand job from this girl, Sarah Pearson. Sarah Pearson is a super hot girl, so there's no way she would have given him a hand job. But except, she did message him that night with a H-E-Y-Y. Everybody knows double Y's means they're down to...
Was it D? So yeah,
I think I would say it could have been 6 episodes and would have been tighter.
Yeah.
But it is a long 4-hour dick joke and it's very funny and it's very well done. I watched it all in one day because it's really a breezy watch. And it is interesting to try and guess who did it. And if maybe it is Dylan, because Dylan comes across as a person with no character depth. Okay, he's a stupid person who believes like in doing pranks, but he says that he did not do this. And his real defense is that the security camera footage is missing also from that hour where those cars were vandalized. His defense is he's too stupid to delete security footage.
Yeah.
Right?
He can't go to an FT protocol and understand all of that.
He can't do all of that stuff. Anyway, you find out in the end who does it, and it's a really interesting journey through this crime story. But they do it well. They do the cork boards. They like really go into everybody's what is the motive and what kind of people they are. It's very interesting and it's very funny. It is surprisingly well done. It's called American Vandal. It's just 8 episodes and it is quite good. It's on Netflix. Alright, so Josh recommended a movie.
Kerala Varma Parsi Raja.
And Navin recommended a book.
How I Escaped My Certain Fate by Stuart Lee.
And I'm recommending American Vandal. Let's take a quick break and then come back.
Shunyavan, 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 Shunyavan.
$1 billion acquisition. Another copycat startup got formed.
No, the tech world in India is surely moving double the speed of this voiceover.
Tune in to Shunya One every Tuesday to catch us talking to the smartest people we know on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcast from.
And we're back. Today we're going to talk about what everybody's talking about right now on the internet, which is the Harvey Weinstein case. I guess the short version of it is that he was accused of harassing multiple women across many years.
Yeah.
I think the New York Times wrote an article exposing them, and they claimed that they had tried to do this before but were shut down by Matt Damon and Russell Crowe. Matt Damon, of course, has said that never happened.
He's fully denied.
Yes, he's denied it.
Yeah.
Of course, Harvey Weinstein ran Miramax Pictures, which is like a massive studio.
Yeah, and then the Weinstein company.
And all these actors mainly like owe their careers to this guy because he put them on the big screen. Oscar nomination.
And he's been around for so many years, many years.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are getting into this conversation because one of the few people who have come forward is Rose McGowan, who also called out Ben Affleck, who put out a post saying, as women I wish this would never happen. And also always everybody's go-to as somebody who has daughters and sisters. Hey man, women are people without relations to you. So I don't get why that happens. A lot of people are being called out, and I think it is great. I know that he's been fired from his job, but obviously it's not because they found out about it. They obviously fired him because we found out. And which is very different from what it looks like across the world, where it's not going to make any difference to his life, is what I feel. And of course, the conversation is now, this denouncement is a big deal, right? Must you make a statement and denounce this person? Now that you know this, or now that you know that everybody knows. I know that Kellyanne Conway tweeted about Hillary Clinton not denouncing him.
Yeah.
I mean, neither has Donald Trump.
But she has.
No, she hasn't.
She has condemned him.
No.
Hillary Clinton. Weinstein.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's done it.
I haven't seen one.
I read it this morning only.
Probably after she came out.
Yeah.
and said that.
Well, anyway, so I mean, obviously, this business is ridiculous. Of have you denounced him?
And
But
Kellyanne Conway is someone who stood behind Trump when he made the whole the locker room conversation happen.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. We can't expect people to say something because like everybody comes out and like, oh, my condolences and my this thing, but no one asks you for your opinion first of all. And if someone does not have an opinion, that's also okay, because we don't have to push people to give them a kind of like gratification on some sort of.
But what most people have reported is like they have asked certain people for comment, like Quentin Tarantino and Michael Moore, and who's the other guy? Well, it's like a bunch of people very closely associated, Robert Rodriguez, but they haven't commented. They haven't even replied. Like they've asked them for comment, they haven't given a comment. That is the main issue.
Yeah, and obviously this thing has been happening for so many years. Clearly, I think Vulture put out an audio clip of him trying to get this model into his room.
Yeah,
it is extremely terrifying to listen to it.
And that was from 2015, mind you. That's not even like a recent. That was from 3 years ago, 2 years ago.
So it looks pretty bad overall, but I feel like the discussion really is where should everybody take a stand? I feel like to some extent people should. It is their duty if you are associated with somebody who obviously is a known sexual harasser or whatever. I feel like in some form it is your duty to stand up and say, okay, I work with this person and now that I know this, I won't. I think to some extent it is their responsibility.
Yeah, and it's surprising like what happens in these scenes basically when these high profile actors, producers, even comedians for that matter hang out. This is a very common way of talking. Like people are like, oh, remember this hot chick who came to my green room, like, and we did stuff. I mean, that's the most famous way I'm putting it out. Like, there's worse conversations I've heard in person, and I'm like, why is this like a okay thing to talk about? Like, why is it like such a thing to brag about when you're clearly doing something very bad? Like, as humans, first of all, we have to draw a line and understand that the person and the artist, we had the discussion before as well, that the artist and the person are different aspects to one character. And when someone does something this bad, we have to condemn them. We have to obviously give them the ultimatum that this is not right.
Well, for me, this thing, like, it's so shocking because, one, everybody kind of knows about this casting couch thing.
Of course.
But now to think this guy who has been responsible for some real, like, films that people love, man, and filmmakers.
It has
like,
made people so much money. That's why people don't say anything.
So many careers, like, and this was so interesting because in the morning when I was with Becky, she saw the Georgina Chapman thing, and that just like, and then she was reading about, because she's a big fan of Project Runway, you know? And then first you find out this woman, Georgina Chapman, is not only married to Weinstein, who's a boss, but is kind of responsible for her fashion brand, man, or at least for that thing becoming an established thing. And so it's like, and she's like a big fan of Georgie, so now seeing all this stuff is like, what am I supposed to think about this woman now? You know?
I do think that like there is, I know that since we're talking about this, there is right now on the Indian Bombay Pune Twitter side, there's a lot of allegations about High Spirits being a really misogynistic space. And I feel like there is some amount of pressure to say, I won't go perform as comedians, saying I won't go perform at this venue, or I won't go to this venue for gigs and support them. I know it won't matter in the long run at all. Like, if two comedians out of the 55 who perform there say, I won't perform, it makes no difference to High Spirits. It makes no difference to their business or their bar, because the people who go there, who've been going there for centuries, will go there. I don't think it makes a difference. But I do feel like it's okay to come out and say that in support, because if you do support it, say it. That's fine. It's okay to denounce venues or people if you feel like they're wrong. Whether your comment makes a difference or not, right?
With this Harvey Weinstein thing, it's like so many people have come out. Like, this thing has been happening for so long, and it's been an open secret. And you're thinking it's all these big stars, man. And you're thinking it's happening in that industry on that level where there's so much money. I mean, you can't imagine what, like, it's Harvey Weinstein is one person. Like,
so I think it goes across genders as well, because even Terry Crews went through something like that and he opened up about it recently. The fact that this is rampantly happening and people don't say anything because they love their careers and they want to make something out of it is just like, and at that point, like, again, there's a very fine line again where we as outsiders can't judge, because, okay, if they did this one for money and they want to get ahead in life, okay, and then they got somewhere and then they decide to use that power to come back and bring that out into light, great.
Of course.
But people will also say, why did you even not open your mouth back then?
Nobody cares.
That's what. So that's.
But that's the thing. So should Harvey Weinstein go to jail, man?
He should.
If somebody files a case and there's evidence.
But that's the thing. So many people. I mean, there are like
Is Bill Cosby in jail?
Yeah, he's not in jail yet. But that's the thing. Is he going to be
So
prosecuted?
many people have come out.
That's
but
what.
It makes
is
no
OJ in jail?
It makes no
different
difference,
conversation.
honestly, the number of people at this point. All you can hope that it does is make other people safer now. That's it. Honestly, to be fair, the reason women don't come out is because it's going to make no difference except affect them.
Yeah.
It's going to make the women's career worse. It's going to be like, why didn't you say that before? Or why did you keep your mouth shut then? And why didn't you do something then? Nobody believes people. It's rare. Even now that, because it's only in numbers. When people come out in numbers, people are like, okay, maybe. But all that's happened is that he's fired from his job, from his company. It's going to make no difference to him. Even if he is prosecuted, I'm sure that it's going to take forever. But it's still going to make...
He'll still be filthy rich.
It's going to make no difference to his life in any way, I think.
Like, dude, I have walked into so many green rooms when like Louis C.K.'s case was breaking out,
Yeah.
and people like many women came out against alleging that he
Yeah.
masturbated in front of them.
Yeah.
And like this was again like a green room atmosphere where this bunch of boys are talking about how, because everybody like idolizes him a lot in the comedy scene.
Yeah.
And then when you hear that somebody as big as Louis C.K. is responsible for this, when Rosie O'Donnell spoke about this, they're like, "Wo kaun hai? Matlab, why do you want to give respect to, because she's nobody, she's not a great comic like as Louis C.K." And that was the conversation that was happening. I'm like, sort of like we finding out, or at least hoping to have a proper proof against this or whatever. If the conversation develops, the thing is like we just assume something and then we like say the first thing that comes to our mind, which happened also in the whole high spirits thing in Pune, is that certain comedians are like still looking at this as a joke instead of like actually addressing it.
Yeah.
So it's a very grim time because we have to like balance the situation out, obviously, but also be on the right side of the conversation. Like we just like in general in life, we're punching down is what's wrong with society.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that guys realize that when you immediately jump to... I think the thing is that this bro code is as much... that they think there is loyalty is not loyalty. It's support for something that... Okay, fine. I'm sure you don't know who... maybe you think he's not that kind of person, or maybe... Like, you have no idea, firstly, how guys behave when your guy friends are not around with other women. That's impossible to know. You don't know. And then, if somebody says something, and you know this guy, you know the high spirits owner, he's been your friend for years, and if you don't believe it, there's a reason and there's a way to
address it.
Yeah, to address it. It doesn't have to be against the person saying it. I think that's stupid.
Yeah.
I think the idea that this is a personal attack is not. It's not that. What she's talking about is the culture of misogyny.
Yeah, the moment she tweeted out, this one guy like, but I have always had a good experience over there. But no, you choose.
Yeah, because
she
you're a
was
dude.
molested over there.
Yeah, because you're a dude, and she's not wrong in saying that, because I know High Spirits does have these awards of like best legs, best breasts.
Yeah.
And I know that there are lots of people who participate in it. I'm not saying that they don't. But that doesn't make it okay. And her saying this, and if you think it's not wrong, don't strictly target her. Don't hate on her and say, oh, you're a liar, or oh, if you didn't want to go, you should not have gone. Address what the problem is. I think that's a big problem, because people don't really understand that it's not a personal, like the attack is also more than just the person. It is the culture of what's breeding there.
Correct.
Like with Ben Affleck now, after he came out with this, Hillary Burton has come out saying that he grabbed a boob. I saw the video. It is creepy. I think the thing is that obviously Ben Affleck is now a big star, so now it makes sense for him to condemn that. But he did that then, and he obviously now immediately apologized as soon as she put it out.
Yeah.
He put out an apology. Why didn't you apologize before if you thought that was wrong? Why did you, even if you did it then, now when people will now start to investigate, that's why you put out an apology. Why didn't you just apologize first, man?
Yeah.
So, speaking of venues, so for one of the events that we were doing back in the day, that was like 2 years ago, but there was one, so during Christmas, there was this, we were having like a little sort of mini party, and there was a play happening at the same time. So everybody had something to drink, and then the play was happening. It was the last event of the day, and it was a production by a group of college people. Now, one of the guys on our team, one of the event guys, he had something to drink, and there was a girl who was handling the lights backstage, and she was like, she had something wrong with her leg, so she had a crutch and stuff, she couldn't walk properly. So this guy kind of groped her, like he was trying to pass a drink or something, felt her up, and this was happening while the play was happening. So as soon as the play was done, these guys came to me and they're like, this has happened, what are we going to do? Okay. So then the thing is, in that place, there was a CCTV camera right at the back, and that was the only one that was there. So the thing is, first we talked to the girl. We said, like, it depends. See, this is all up to you, Either you can go to the police with this, or you can figure it out. I don't know, it's in your hands kind of thing. But after that, I told him we're going to call the guy, and we're going to tell him that, there's a CCTV. We saw everything. And truth is, we hadn't seen the CCTV footage. And when we looked at it, you couldn't see anything because he was out of the shot. But we said it anyway,
Yeah.
and he kind of like started, all the jitters started happening.
I think the thing with is that the onus of proof is always on the victim, which is so stupid.
Yeah.
Because it shouldn't be that way.
And in many cases, you can't prove it. Like,
You can't prove it.
Unless
You can't prove it.
carry
That's
a camera
true.
everywhere.
But once we told him that we saw, there's a CCTV right at the back, we can see everything that you're doing. He just like admitted to it because it's like, because it was this thing. So then it was a matter of what are these guys going to do? That's when it went all to shit. Because first these guys started beating him up, these college kids, okay? And we're like, stop, if you want, you can take him to the police station if you want, or you can let it go, man. One of the thing, but he's not going to, like, this guy we had to fire him, like, after that.
Of course.
But they're like, no, we'll take him to the police station and all that. So eventually, so then I was in this weird position because this guy was working right under me, man. He was one of my guys.
Yeah.
And we had got him through one of the boys working at the place, and he had just worked with me for 2 weeks. And the guy was like begging me, man. He's like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, man, I gotta take you to the police station right now. I took him inside to the police station. He's grabbing onto my leg, man. You know, it's like that situation. He was so desperate. I'm like, please call somebody that you know. I hardly know you, man. I know you.
So repentance comes like at a very late point.
Only
for
when
men,
punishment
like,
is in view.
Yeah, how can you
There is
just
no
assume
repentance
that somebody is an
otherwise.
object? You've done what you wanted to do with them.
Yeah,
and
now
then,
they must have. Yeah, they must forgive
once
you.
they spoke and oh my god, they have a voice. How can you talk?
Yeah.
And
That's the outlook.
the standard excuses of alcohol, the standard, all
no,
this.
none of those are good excuses,
so
man.
it's like these people just, so after that, like after I took him to the police station, left him there, then those group of college people, they had to file their FIR and all that. So I just.
Have you guys seen this writer Anna Clark who put up that post about how like if you're in a professional setting with a woman, this is how you treat her. Just imagine her as the Rock. Think of her as Dwayne Johnson, right? Oh, you have to meet this woman to get coffee on a project you're supposed to talk about, but she's so pretty. What are you going to do? Think of her as Rock, man. You know? I know Rock tweeted it out and she's having a great viral day. But I don't get it. Like, I don't understand how people think in a professional setting you can do that. It makes no sense. But I also feel like, I do think that no matter how many people come out, I feel like if there is no precedent to punishment, people will not come out anymore. Like,
and the very fact that there are two factions in this argument is the mind-blowing
Exactly,
fact.
exactly.
Should not be like that.
And also with this thing with the venue, man, it's like we're talking about high spirits. If they just tackled it, or if they did something to change that culture.
but that's what they're talking about. They're saying that the owner is the one who perpetuates it. It's his community. They're called the homies, right? They're called the high homies or something like that.
Really?
Yeah. There's a
Yeah,
close
it's pretty
Facebook
much
group.
like they do a barbecue pit and all of that. They all like just compare dicks all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to High Spirits a couple of times, and I see it. Like, obviously, I don't know anybody, so I'm pretty much like a Bombay person there. But I've seen it for sure. But I don't know. I don't know if it's going to make.
But that's like, it feels like an Uber thing where it's like the culture, it's not like an isolated incident.
Yes, it is the culture.
Yeah.
But I don't know if people care about fixing it at all. I think that's the thing. I think we've seen it so many times. A bunch of people will come out. Lots and lots of women will come out and claim that they were abused or whatever, and nothing will be done. Then less people will come out because what does it doesn't help women to come out.
No, but
every time somebody says why don't
think,
more women come out, because nobody believes us.
Yeah. But then I think we've made like long strides from where it came from. Like Bollywood is rampant with stories of this happening back in the day. So today people are actually talking about this even in Hollywood.
I was just going to say this. Do you think it'll ever happen in Bollywood? I don't think so. I can't imagine a Harvey Weinstein level of person in Bollywood getting accused and like a Deepika Padukone coming in support, or whoever's the biggest actor. Like with Harvey Weinstein, Gwyneth Paltrow and Angelina Jolie have come out and said that they were also at the end of this. So I mean, that's big names, and obviously it makes, in Bollywood, I think the culture is very, very different.
And man, what really was, it feels like there's no, like everything is just tainted now.
Yeah.
Like what good film is that is not tainted by this bullshit, you know?
That is true.
Like it's impossible to escape now. Like
But
I can't think of a...
To answer Sharanya's question, I think we're making a little bit of
think
efforts
so?
towards, because see, when the whole Jagga Jasus thing was happening, and Ranveer Kapoor was basically like mansplaining everything that Katrina was trying to say, she was like standing up to him and thinking, you know what, like I can talk to my own self kind of thing.
That's very different.
I'm just saying, like, that's still like a
He's not
step
in a
the
position
right-
of power against her.
But like tomorrow, if something like this happens, I can believe that Katrina Kaif will take a step into front.
It is pretty depressing. No art is escaping just
Or at least
severe
the
misogyny.
foundation of so many films is built on people like Weinstein.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a
Like,
tragedy.
But you can't. Honestly, you could not possibly not watch any of those things. You have no idea where money is and where money has come from for something. Every art form, everything is...
And man, before Quentin Tarantino movies, like the Weinstein Company, you know, that's what's there before it.
Yeah.
Forever tainted.
Did you guys watch?
For a better future.
Just before we close this discussion, did you guys watch Stephen Colbert, Seinfeld or Stephen Colbert talking about Bill Cosby and how I can totally disassociate his comedy from his
art, yeah.
And then as soon as
they cut to commercial, someone like Seinfeld.
I'm pretty sure it's Netflix's PR saying you're come here to promote your special.
Yeah.
You have to take that back.
Yeah. Wow. And then they come back after the break and then they have to clarify it, which they did gracefully, I would say.
Fair enough.
And he's like, you know what? I agree with you, Steve. That's what he said. Yeah.
Oh, alright. I guess that was the end of the conversation. Things are up is
the moral of the story.
Yeah.
But you got good movies to watch and good books to read, and that at least is comforting.
That's true. We'll come back next week and recommend more things to drown away everything else. Alright, that was our episode of IVM Likes. If you want to find us on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, we're IVM Podcast, and we'll come back next week.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Sorry to say, but there's been a slight delay due to the apocalypse having suddenly begun. As you can see, there's death, destruction, and chaos taking place all around us. But don't you worry, food and drinks will be served shortly, and I would recommend checking out
IVM Podcasts
to get some of your favorite Indian podcasts. We'll keep you going till this whole thing blows over. Thank you.